Hey y'all, I'm Jasmine and a proud daughter, coach, and creative, blooming right here in my own season of growth.
And I'm her mother, Eldress Jackie Campbell, a woman of faith, wisdom, and a few good stories.
Welcome to Bloomers and Boomers. This is a space for Black women to gather across generations and have the kind of honest, heart-centered conversations that help us grow, heal, and remember who we are.
Because our roots run deep, from the lessons we've learned to the laughter that's carried us through, we believe every woman's voice adds to the legacy.
That's right. Each episode, we're bridging generations, from the bloomers to the boomers, unpacking everything from womanhood and wellness to family, faith, and freedom.
It's mother-daughter talk, infused with culture, truth-telling, and a whole lot of love for our people.
You're tuned in to Bloomers and Boomers, where Black women grow and glow together. All right, welcome back to Bloomers and Boomers. And just so you guys are clear on the title, it's Bloomers and Boomers. It's a play on baby boomers, and my mom is a part of that generation. And we're happy to be back. Hoping everyone enjoyed the first episode, which was actually really like something that came up randomly as we were on our walk the other day. Yeah. And just started recording and was like, this conversation is kind of tea. Let's share this with folks in community. So happy to be back, and we have a new topic today. Eldress, do you want to introduce the topic?
Oh, okay. So the topic is eldership, right? And it is about how we become elders, which is distinctly different from just being older. So I'm just going to share a little bit of what I've learned about that as I'm in that space.
Okay, yes, because this is something that's very interesting. We left off last week with a focus on mentorship, and it kind of, again, was just like an unplanned, impromptu conversation. And this conversation on eldership is a natural kind of progression in my understanding, because while mentorship is kind of like, it has like that career focused connotation, eldership is more so reflective of community, at least from my understanding. But again, I'm not an elder and I'm not an expert. So I'm going to tee it up with a question for you, Eldress. What is eldership? Like, what is that all about?
And so I will share based on what happened with me, right? What I've learned about eldership. And I learned this from one of my elders. And when I turned 60, I had I didn't have a birthday party. I had an eldership party. Mm-hmm. And so my elders were invited, as well as some of the young people that I worked with, was doing rites of passage with. So I had
bloomers. You had bloomers in the space.
I had bloomers in the space, and baby bloomers, right?
Because
some of them were adults that had gone through with me, but others I was actively working with at that time, and they were 14 or 15. So I had my girls in play. It was a beautiful celebration. But what my elder, and I will recognize him here, Dr. Frederick Jefferson, what he shared at that event and with me in general was that eldership. So eldership is what you do, right? Mm-hmm. Elderhood is what where you get to in terms of age. Mm-hmm, so elderhood has more of a chronological connotation, but eldership is what you do with that.
It's an embodiment.
It's an embodiment.
Like it's an embodiment.
It is. And so
an outward expression.
An outward expression in a deliberate sense, right? Okay. And there are several types of elders, right? But for now, I'll just talk about two categories. And these are the primary categories. So the first category is your family or relational elder, right? That's the person in your family, the oldest person in your family, or the elders in your family. Could be more than one. And they could be auntie or someone who has functioned in that role, right? Auntie, uncle, somebody that is the holder of family wisdom, right? The holder of the family knowledge and history. So they can speak to their ancestry, and they can speak to the overcoming of the family. Like they function in that way. They're the ones that when there is a challenge in the family, like those are the ones you call.
Glue. They're like
the glue.
Oh,
right.
We need to call in.
Yeah,
we need to call in.
Yeah. I'm gonna call. Auntie so and so. Right. Get the dispatch.
Get on dispatch.
But they're also the ones that we look after too, especially if they are living by themselves, right? So we want to make sure that they have what they need, right?
Absolutely.
We hold them in high regard.
Yeah.
And we hold them in high regard because of what they have done for our family.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So they are embodying that wisdom and that covering for the family. And so, and that they are elders that we want to replicate, right?
Ah, yes.
Right? So we have some elders in our family that we might consider them elders, but they got some shakiness, right? They haven't always been there. They haven't always functioned in that way for the family. And this is the other truth about that, right? Is that as you are living, you are on that path.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get to a point and say, you know what, I think right now I'm going to become an elder. Right. I think it is, you have been working on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you've had that in mind.
You've had that in mind.
It's not something that's just occurring and you just want to flip a light switch.
Absolutely. And your behavior has confirmed it.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's true with anything in life, honestly.
Absolutely.
Everything there's some aha moments, but there's also you actually have to put the work in.
You have to put the work in. You have to do it. And people have to recognize you as doing it, right? It's not just something like, oh, I've been doing it, but it's been secret. No, people see you.
Yeah.
Because they want to emulate you. This is what you want to be in your family.
Yeah.
You want to hold it down so that folks can sort of copy you. Now, there's also the other things that happen, right? Because we do have other behaviors that family members copy, right? And those, sometimes what happens is those are not the behaviors that you want them to copy, but they see that. And that's what comes out.
Because
right?
a baby gonna repeat whatever you.
That's right.
Whatever they
show,
see, the good and bad, they will mirror
right.
you.
So
yourself.
it's an intentional
Yeah.
Act of lifting behaviors that are beneficial for the family.
Yeah.
Now, and then there is community or village elders. And so those are the elders that actually do that for the community. So they stand in when there is a challenge in the community, when there's a question in the community, they weigh in, right? They don't they're not just passive. And I always think about, right, like I have my own elders that work, elders are ancestry around eldership, right? So we have that in our family, but I have one community elder who's an ancestor now who demonstrated this in a really, really profound way. And so I'll call her name. So ancestor, Reverend Dr. Iris Bannister.
I knew it.
You knew it, right? And she always carried herself in such a way that you would want to emulate her, right? She had a lot of influence in the community. But I recall there was a situation where we had a young woman who had some tragedy around. She had a party. And at her party, there was a drive-by, and it wasn't directed at her or her family, but it was just sort of random, and several people were killed.
Oof.
And so,
that's heavy.
And so she was feeling, some challenge around that, and we had an elected official who sort of reached out to comfort her and her family, and was trying to act as an elder would, right? And this was an elected official. And so, but what we found out over time was that his attention had turned nefarious, right? And I mean, he had been sending her sexual pictures of himself.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, he was texting her all kinds of nonsense. And she was like 19. She reached out. She reached out to the women and the elders in the community and said, "This is happening. I don't know what to do with this." And
she came to
community
right? elders.
And the community elders, first we did a press conference.
Ooh, child, don't get y'all started.
Listen, all the women showed up, right? The Black women, Latino women showed up and said, "We are not going to stand for this." And then went to I'll say the legislative.
Oh, y'all turned the heat all the way up.
All the way up. Went to the legislative session while it was in session. And there's a part where you can speak. Mm-hmm. Got up to the elders, like she spoke for everybody, and got up and said, "We will not have you sending your penis."
Oh.
She called it out. She called it out. And see
Talk
what
about
happens.
Embarrassment. You got
embarrassment. But see what happens is if you don't have the community that says you can't do that, right? Mm-hmm. You have other people who don't have good intention, don't have good character, and they run roughshod. And it looks like those people progress when elders don't do what they're supposed to do. Right?
That's a word.
That's a word. Let me tell you what happened. Mm-hmm. He did not seek re-election, and him and his whole family picked up and moved.
I hope he moved and also did some. You can change your environment, but you got to change the way that you're thinking and behaving. That is treacherous.
I'm hoping that he learned from his behavior and from his mistakes.
I hope so.
Right. But I don't know. I don't want to focus so much on him.
Right. You're talking about the act of having an elder community that you can call on,
exactly,
and can come and provide some governance to the community spaces. The what's happening. Yeah,
and an elder who says, "I'm going to use my name, my influence, my who I am, for what is good." Right. And so to stand she didn't know this person, except for this particular situation, didn't know folks in the family, but she was an elder that was in high regard, that we looked up to, right? And so sometimes the way she would do that is to say, here's what I think, or here's what you can do, or here's who I know, and she would do that. And other times she would say, what's happening? I'll be there. Right. And she'll show up with her voice and put an end to something right away. So I always want to honor our ancestors in that way. And as a community/village elder, I want to emulate that. Yeah. I want to be that because I know that it means something for our community. Right. It's a benefit to our community. And that's what eldership is. The difference in terms of eldership and elderhood is that I see my life as in service to the benefit of our community. Yeah. And some elders don't. Yeah. And some elders do that in church. Right. So I'm an elder in this space, in this religious space, right? And so they do that. It could be through a title. It could be mother so-and-so. It could be, just like I sit on this pew and people know where to come and get me, that kind of thing. Right. But it is a deliberate act for the betterment of the community. Yeah. Yeah. When I hear you talk about elderhood, it reminds me of adulthood, where you might be an adult, but you're not necessarily like, you might be struggling in adulthood, Yeah. But adulting is different. Like adulting is going ahead and paying the bills on time, all the things that you have to do as an adult. It just kind of, that analogy helps me understand that. Yeah. There's some correlation there. Absolutely. And adulting, right? If we're talking about if I was looking at this from an Afrocentric worldview, right? In terms of the lifespan, eldership, you really, it's hard to get to ancestorship, right? If you haven't functioned in eldership, right? Because now again, I'm talking about a family elder or the community or village elder, right? When you are functioning in either space, when you transition, it's the community that keeps you alive. Yes. That keeps you're connected to that community.
Keeps you engaged, keeps you a part of the equation.
Exactly. And so you want to be well thought of. Yeah. Right? Not just well thought of, you want to be able to be of service as an ancestor. Right. Right. And that means people are calling on you for that.
Right. And I'm thinking of folks who may not have been like community elders, but who made a massive impact in my life, and I call on them,
right.
So like those individual dynamics and connections between an elder and an ancestor, you know, people who maybe don't have the capacity to be a community elder, but in the family, that's what they are.
Absolutely.
Thinking of Auntie Dorrit, thinking of Auntie Carol, you know, people who, even Auntie Dorrit was, now we're talking about ancestorship.
Right.
So we're going to save that for something else.
Right.
But big up my aunties and everything they did for me. Yes. So how do you like to be engaged as an elder? How do you like for someone of my age or even younger? Like we talked the previous episode about, you know, some guidelines for like mentorship, and we were just having a little combo. But how do you like to be involved as an elder?
Well, and that's a little difficult because I was in our previous community, I would consider myself to be a community elder. And I would say I was a baby elder, right? So
in Rochester.
Rochester.
You just got the eldership in what, 2019?
Right. If I wanted to look at it in a chronological sense, right? There's something happens when you turn 60, right? You have a different mindset about who am I and legacy. You start thinking more earnestly about that. But so I had a blowout for my 60th. And prior to that, though, I had a community title as Eldress. Probably that came about when I was maybe close, like 55. And Eldress was a compilation. So when my Rastafarian brother, Elder Jerome Underwood, gave me that title, right, and called me that one day, and I was like, well, wait, oh, I like that. That fits.
That got a little twang to it.
It's got something to it, and it's a combination of the terms elder and empress. Right. So I said, yep, that I'm that, right. I'm walking in that. And actually at about early 50s, I actually began to do some study around eldership, right? Reading some scholarship, African scholarship around elders and the difference that, you know, African descended people throughout the diaspora placed on elders. So I started to say, okay, yeah, I'm functioning in that space now, right? I'm doing that, but I was still working, right? And some of my scholarship had led me to see that that you turn into this community elder, like village elder, when you step away from paid employment where you're actually serving at the behest of someone else. Now, some people are really, really fortunate to be able to be in paid positions that also require them to be this way in community, right? And so I had such a position at a particular time. And then I moved on to something else. But when I was nearing 60, when I hit 60, I said in 2 years, I'm going to retire fully. And I said that to people, right? And I had some of my colleagues asking me, why would you do that, right? Like you set yourself up, right? Like people are not going to be paying attention to you, or, you're sort of like, you lessen your influence
become irrelevant.
Right. And so first it would be irresponsible of me if I knew I was going to be leaving in 2 years to act as if, I'm staying. Right. And when you're in a leadership role, you're really focused on the long-term proposition for an organization, not just on what's happening for, next 6 months.
There's a certain responsibility and
absolutely
duty that you have.
You have to the organization,
to the mission,
that's right, to the mission, and so that it can thrive after your leadership. So part of I saw my role as tilling the soil so that it would be receptive to new leadership, but also making sure that the vision ahead would be supported by a new leader, right? And so, and it took that process to, search for my replacement, to go through that whole hiring process. That took about a year and a half to do. Just even creating the job description, executive director, all these other things. And so, it is, so I saw that as my responsibility. But I also knew that at 62, I wanted to step into real community eldership. I wanted to do
beautiful.
Right. I wanted to do what my elders had taught me.
Right.
And then what happened in the meantime is we made a decision to transition down to the DMV, which now I'm here and I'm in some spaces and I have that kind of relationship with folks. And I brought my title with me, right? But they haven't seen my works yet.
Listen, I be talking about your works like, y'all got to know who you dealing with. This is a big stepper right here.
Well, listen, I haven't changed the way I step. Yeah. Right. But it's all about creating relationships or developing relationships. So I'm new in relationships, but I have met some beautiful, beautiful sisters here.
Yeah.
And some beautiful eldresses who are walking in it and doing the doggone thing.
It's so exciting because I've been taking that walk with you. It's been very thrilling. And I think watching you, well, first of all, I saw the way that you entered into elderhood with all the pomp and circumstance of maybe someone who's turning 21. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or 18. But you brought it up to the 60s, which I was like, wow, this is how I want to embrace aging. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it gives me something when we talk about eldership and we talk about ancestorship, it gives me something to look forward to.
Shay, absolutely.
As if like I'm not being like sent out to pasture. That's not what's happening. And I think I don't know if that's a Western, like Eurocentric view of the world.
Absolutely it is.
So I'm happy that, my cultural, if I'm reaching back and looking at my cultural roots, there's more, like the older you get, the more like kind of community responsibility you have.
Absolutely.
And so it's just exciting. So
right. And I just wanted to bring a little bit more clarity around the difference, right? It's been my experience. Now, I can't say this for everybody, but a lot of people cling to position because they have been defined by it. So they are I'm defined. When I was assistant commissioner, I was seen as I had all of these resources and this influence, but I was more than that.
Yeah.
Some people step in that role, and when they leave that role, they have no more relevance.
Yeah.
And so they cling to it. So what they do, two things. One, they confirm that they have no relevance because they stay there just for that, right? So they confirm it in the minds of other people, and they block off opportunities for younger people to come into their leadership and their elderhood. Right. So they're actually in the way, right? Yeah. And they hold on to that, and they, and it's the way the society is built. A lot of us are tied to a paycheck. Right?
Understandable.
Right. So, the reason I didn't retire at 60, right, and waited till 62 is because some other resource was coming into play that was going to be able to support me financially. So that's the other thing is, right, as you're working towards eldership, you have to be mindful that this money is not going to last forever, and I need to build it so that I can still stay in community and do what I need to do.
Yeah, you need to cultivate. There's so much to be said about just eldership and the process of when you are approaching, not just approaching, but throughout your life, just being considerate of those things. And you said something really powerful. A lot of people stay in position because they have allowed it to define them.
Absolutely.
And the fearlessness, and I'm not saying retirement doesn't have the scaries, because I know for a lot of people it does have the scaries, right? You're going into a new era of your life. But I think there's a beautiful aspect of being confident enough and having sown enough seeds whereby you are not attached to that position. And that's a lesson that even people, you don't have to be an elder to really embody that in the way that you move through life, the way that you move through your career. Yeah, because, and I mean, position, some people get big headed with position. It can come with a bigger paycheck. all the things that your organization is bringing into your life, the resources that your organization has, I understand the shininess of it. But in the same token, you know, that sovereignty that you build, not that being the intention of eldership, but like it being one of the prizes of like not allowing your career to define the entirety of who you are.
Right.
I just wanted to like, and I'm gonna, you know, I'm probably gonna replay this and like jot that down and put it on a little Post-it note beside my bed, because it's one of those things that you need that reminder.
Absolutely,
you need that reminder. So
right, and you know, there's some wisdom that you build over time, and aligning, you know, bringing some alignment to yourself so that you are on your assignment, right? So that you're so the assignment is not, oh, I just want to be an elder, right? And function in eldership. The assignment is, what am I supposed to be doing while I'm here?
Yes.
Right? And what's your purpose? And aligning your purpose as you move into eldership.
Yeah, because you know.
Yeah. So it's about being, and this is what people see, right? When you're aligned, people see that. They like, oh, you know, and then they come to you. They want to know your thoughts on things, but they're also expected, because you have been walking this sort of in line of integrity, right? You are expected to be able to function in that space.
Yeah.
So I could talk a lot about it. I could talk all day about it, but that's just it in terms of a nutshell. Now there are other kinds of community elders, like the way elders show up. Like there's community elders, but there's also elders that function on a council for an organization or an initiative, right?
Right.
And there is, you know, then there is just the older. The older, I wanted the relational elder, so they don't have their own families, or they don't have their own kids, they don't have grandkids and all of that, but they stand in there. They're the holders of something. They stand in there. We have some in our family, and so and they're the part of that is the relationship to youth, right? Not just youth that we think of like teenagers or young adults. The relationship, it's a reciprocal relationship, right? So the elder shares knowledge and wisdom, and the younger person is sharing protection, sharing, you know, I'm making sure that they have what they need, right? So, and we have a perfect example of that.
And social inclusion.
Social inclusion, that's really important. And I was just thinking about Miss Margaret, our neighbor, right? Yeah. She's approaching, I think 94. And, you know, and she lives by herself, but her son lives right down the street, right? And they arranged it so that he comes over and takes care of stuff, but she has her own autonomy, right? And so she's got grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and she's functioning in that space in terms of the memory keeper, right? It's just a real beautiful thing.
It is.
You know?
Oh, my goodness. What a blessing.
What a blessing. What a blessing. And speaking, I'll say this is the last thing. I'll say this is the last thing, right? From an African perspective, it's considered an honor to have an elder living in your home, right? And just think of that in terms as how that is counter to sort of this Western philosophy of putting the older person in a home.
Ooh, child.
As opposed to in your home. It's a blessing to have that. And I remember we were doing a Strengths of the Black Family session. And when we got to the end of it, one of the parents said, I'm moving away, and I'm going to be moving in with my grandmother. And she moved her whole family, but she brought her grandmother up to come to the class. Like her grandmother was in one of the states down south, and I don't think it was one of the Carolinas, so it might have been Georgia or Florida. But she brought her grandmother up and brought her to the class, and I got a picture somewhere of us. We had that picture with her, and she was moving with her grandmother, because it first of all was going to be beneficial to her and her children, but she really took it to heart, right? Like I have an older relative, right? That one, I need her help, but two, she needs my help. Why would I not? Why? This is a win-win on both sides, right? And so it is an honor, and it's, you know, we figured that out, right?
Yeah.
We figured that out.
We figured that out. So, first of all, excellent conversation on eldership. It just always, it's something that is really a new phenomenon to me, because I think just being brought up, in, Catholic school, and having, tidbits of the cultural throughout, like growing up. But I'll be honest, eldership as a concept really came to me when you entered into eldership. So it's really refreshing to have these kind of conversations, and again, something to look forward to. Now, the topic of this episode is eldership and legacy, what our elders and aunties want us to know. So, is there any, if you had to bullet 3 things that you wanted, some practical things that you wanted to share with listeners about engaging elders, being in community with elders, being on your own walk towards eldership, and cultivating that, if you had to bullet 3?
Okay, so I'll bullet 3. Everyone needs an elder in their life. That's number 1, everyone. And that's not an older person, but an elder. There needs to be someone that you have high regard for, that you're looking up to, and that you're hoping to embody those practices. So the first thing is, who is the elder in your life? Identify, and you could have multiple, because I've had multiple and still have multiple, right? Who are they, right? And then, so in the same line with that, get to know them, right? So I talked about the elders. I mentioned a few of them, but I actually got to know them and spent time with them and asked questions of them and made sure that we had authentic relationship, right? It's important. So I'm going home. I'm going back to Rochester this weekend, and I'm going to be checking in with a few elders that are there. So one, everybody should have an elder, and you should know the elder. 2, thinking about your own, be proactive in thinking about who you are and what is it that you hope to contribute as an elder when you get to that space, right? So be very thoughtful about how you are moving and putting in place. Don't burn bridges, right? Just being thoughtful about your behavior and your actions. That's a whole different, that's a different discussion about burning them doggone bridges.
We will burn. Listen. I speak for you. I can speak for me, baby. I will burn a bridge. That's something I'm learning. Yeah. Maybe I don't need to burn it, but maybe I need to not walk across that bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Stop going back and forth over the doggone bridge.
Right. Take a different route.
Take a different route. Absolutely. And then the last thing I would say is, from a cultural perspective, read about it, right? Because we always like to say we know something based on what I saw, and sometimes we don't see everything, right? And so we need to be more knowledgeable about who we are as a people culturally. So read some scholarship, look at, and I can tell you that some of the scholars that I've read, Dr. Wade Nobles, right? Dr. Molefe Kite Asante, and Karenga, Dr. Karenga, right? Read some of that. Oh, and so 2 others I will mention. Dr. Joy DeGruy,
yes,
and dear friend, and Dr. Edwin Nelson, who really did a lot of profound work around the philosophical difference of culture and practice, right? So he looked at the philosophical and axiological differences in mindset between different groups of people, and how that manifested over thousands of years based on where the geographic region was. So the way we act as people of color, and particularly African descended folk, was developed on the continent, right? Based on our geographic region, and how we worked in this reciprocal relationship with nature, right? So you got to do some more study about who we are, and because we embrace lock, stock, and barrel this Western philosophy and ideas, and that ain't us.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why we think it's okay to put our elders in homes. Right. And sometimes we must do that.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes we don't have the resources, so we need to rely on what's available. But most times we can do something about it.
Right.
And so study. So first, get you an elder.
You need an elder.
Elders, right?
You need an elder.
Figure out your own walk, right? And study.
And study. Awesome. Ooh, this conversation on legacy and eldership was a rich one. And I hope it reminded us all that wisdom doesn't expire. It just keeps evolving and passing between woman to woman. And legacy also isn't what we leave behind. It's how we are living right now. Our everyday decisions, our choices, every boundary we set, every act of care is part of the story that we're writing for those who come behind us. So think about this. Who have you been learning from lately? And who's learning from you? Just by watching how you move. Yes, people are watching your moves and learning. Whether you're a boomer, a bloomer, or somewhere in between, or maybe before or after, because this is for all generations, you're shaping the legacy every day in your words, in your work, in your comings and goings, in your way of being, all of that. So, in closing, we honor the elders who poured into us, and we honor the ancestors who poured into us, and we celebrate the bloomers carrying that torch forward. If this episode touched your heart, share it with another Black woman who's walking her own legacy path. Let's keep these conversations alive and thriving. As always, you can stay connected with us online. My mother, Eldress Campbell, is at Eldress Campbell on Instagram, and I am at In Bloom with Jasmine Evadney. You can also visit inbloomwithjasmine.com for coaching, community, and upcoming events. Until next time, keep honoring your roots, keep watering, keep growing, keep blooming.